Yeah, the company is the owner of the Richmond Vanadium Project in central North Queensland, and our focus is developing this project to meet the growing needs of the energy storage sector as we work to decarbonise the planet. This project is the largest of its kind in the world. It has very unique geology and metallurgy, very simple flow sheet for processing, and extremely competitive capital and operating costs. So we're seeking 25 to 35 million in an IPO. That is open now, and that closes on the 14th of November. And then we'll be seeking a listing on the ASX at the end of November, and then getting stuck into our Bankable Feasibility Study and our development work. Yeah, vanadium's historically been used in the steel industry, civil construction, and specialty alloys in the aerospace and military industries. Future growth and future demand certainly coming from the commercialisation of the vanadium redox flow battery, which is coming into global recognition as a big part of our decarbonisation of the planet. So we see a strong growth demand in that sector. We're producing 98.6% battery grade flake from our project to meet that growing demand. They are scalable, they generate no heat, and they're perfect for our larger scale stationary grid storage applications, particularly around storing renewable energy and taking excess power from the grid and using it more effectively and more efficiently. So these are becoming playing a pivotal role in future decarbonisation and reduction of carbon emissions as we move to reduce our carbon emissions and meet our targets into the future.
Yes. The project that the company have is in Richmond in northwest Queensland. It's halfway between Mount Isa and Townsville along the existing rail, highway and the power corridor. That corridor used to serve the mining industry, say in Mount Isa and the Cloncurry to the port at Townsville. So it's our key deposits is only 30 k's from the existing rail loading station. So it's very well located. We have about 1,400 square kilometers of tenement. We defined the 3 large deposits, totaling about 1.8 billion ton resource. Little well deposits where we fixed for our stage 1 production have a reserve of 460 million tons. We own about 85 to 90% of all the oxide vanadium resources of that field. We spent 4 years doing the methodology and optimization processing road. So we come up with a very simple and effective, concentrating and refining sort of flow sheet that translates into a very cheap production, make us into the lowest 10 percentile of all the vanadium producers of the world.
Yeah, so our plan going forward on successful listing and IPO will be to complete the Bankable Feasibility Study for an FID in late 23, early 24. We'd like to be in construction in 2024 and in first production in 2025. Obviously very strong support from regional, state and federal governments. We have a very, very small supply chain. We're on the major infrastructure corridor between Mount Isa and Townsville. We have access to power, utilities, and strong support with the Queensland Government declaring the project as a major coordinated project status, which gives us the opportunity to fast track our development for first production in 25. Yeah, the team at Ultra are experts in electrolyte making and battery making, and they are building batteries in Australia right now as we speak. So our investment is part of the strategy to create the complete value chain and keeping it in Australia for Australia. So we've obviously got offtake commitments from our first Australian battery maker. We're looking for many, many more of those. But it's great to be supporting the growth of a company like Ultra that is out in the market and putting their batteries into commercial use around the country. And we want to see that grow and get into that larger grid scale capacity and that grid scale application where we see enormous benefits in reduction of carbon emissions.
Yeah, thank you. RVT's brought together a very experienced and well-diversified board. Myself, I'm excited to be invited for the opportunity to chair RVT. I have a long experience in public life in Western Australia and have worked on major project development in Northern Australia in particular, and have got a really clear understanding of how major projects interact with local communities, which I think for mining in 2022 going forward is really important. We've added to that our Managing Director, Dr. Sean Wren, 35 years experience in the mining sector, worked for all of the major big name companies, and has now taken that innovation and research into RVT. And the real takeout from Dr. Ren is his understanding and innovation to be able to develop a flow sheet for oxide vanadium, which has been the basis of our PFS and the basis of our project. So up until now, the separation of the vanadium from the oxide has been a challenging process. Dr. Ren has put that together. And John Price, another non-executive director with myself, again, 30 years experience in the sector, currently the boss of Horizon Minerals, and again, lots of experience in project development, bringing concepts to reality. And we think we've got a very good diversified board to enable us to take the RVT project forward.
Yeah, much of that fund, over 50%, essentially go to the DFS, BFS, and approval work. And then we have a small investment into Ultra power system, as we mentioned, who is our battery partner for the entire, processing road and offtake as well. Then the rest, a little bit into admin and general working capital.
It's really clear that Australia and the world is on an energy transformation. No longer are we going to be reliant on fossil fuels. We are looking to decarbonise the value chain. That decarbonisation is being led by the major companies. And for example, in Queensland, the Rio Tinto aluminium sector has committed to 4 gigawatts of renewable energy transition. To inject 4 gigawatts of renewables into the energy system in Queensland is going to require large-scale battery backup, and at RVT, we believe that those batteries are going to be vanadium redox flow batteries. And so it's an emerging area. There's going to be a lot of growth, and investors can look at what's happened to lithium. Lithium's been driven by the electric vehicles and by your computers and your mobile phones, whereas large grid-scale applications, RVT believes is going to be driven by vanadium redox flow batteries in that flow battery sector. So there's an enormous emerging market for this product. We are at the leading edge of that, and the opportunity in Richmond, in Queensland, in Australia, to mine the product, to refine it locally, to turn it into vanadium pentoxide, and to develop a battery manufacturing industry all here in Queensland is extremely exciting. And because of that, we've got enormous support from the Queensland government, enormous support from the Australian government, who are driving this critical minerals sector. And so while lithium is the flavour at the moment, and the lithium market is very, very strong, being driven by electric vehicles and the like, we see a very strong emerging vanadium sector and a very strong battery market. And RVT wants to be the pioneer, I suppose, the foundation driver of a whole new industry in Queensland, for Australia and the world.